God, conservatives love being the victim so much. It's their favorite thing. It's their favorite sport. What are we doing? Like, you're Donald Trump. You can't do this. Like, you are not allowed, okay? You are not allowed to cry about this if you're Donald Trump. What the hell?
All right.
Okay, this story, it's sparking a wave of anger.
We're back to the dark woke versus soy right, folks. We're moving on from Brandonian nonsense to nonsense that pertains to dark woke going to war with the soy right. Now, a lot of you know I've been talking quite a bit about the soy right, which is what we're calling the right wing now, because now that they're in positions of power, their endless cries have yet to cease. They still act like they have nothing because, I don't know, I guess they're not getting all of their wishes or something. But also, you have this new emerging movement called dark woke, where some liberals have decided to basically behave like Republicans normally do. For example, what do? They every now and then they'll believe in like their own version of QAnon theories. Like there was that one guy that claimed that JD Vance was like a serial rapist of children, like a known rapist of children in the state of Ohio. And he was like, I'm coming out with all this information, like just you wait, you know, that kind of thing. It's different than like the dirtbag left. Dark woke is very different than the dirtbag left, because the dirtbag left is usually a group of people that just don't really with identity politics too much, right? Or have like a class first politics, but they're not necessarily like anti representative politics in general, but they will, you know, they'll behave in ways where the average radlib will consider that to be problematic and that you're a fascist. Dark woke, on the other hand, is like still very libbed up. Like dark woke is very libbed up. I would probably be in the dirtbag left category to a certain degree. Dark woke, on the other hand, is like super duper libbed up and most likely will punch left if push comes to shove. They haven't recently because they're too busy attacking the Republican administration. You're just making up titles for things now? No. First of all, I do that, but right now I'm not doing that. Dirtbag left, where does Chapo fall into? Chapo is the reason why they invented the term dirtbag left. I'm in the wiki. Ain't no way. The dirtbag left is a style of left-wing politics that eschews civility to convey a left-wing populist and anti-capitalist message using vulgarity. It's most closely associated with American left-wing online media that emerged in the mid-2010s, such as the podcast Chapo Trap House. The term was coined by Amber A. Lee Frost, associated with her essay, The Necessity of Political Vulgarity, published in the Current Affairs in 2016. While the essay does not directly use the term dirtbag left, it mounts a defense of politics that uses vulgarity as a tool for fighting the powerful, citing libels, I don't know. Used to slander Marie Antoinette, Cone v. California, NWA's protest song, The Police, among others. Frost writes that vulgarity in itself is not inherently subversive, but argues that the left must reclaim it from the Trumps of the world, lest it be handicapped by its own civility. Dirtbag left is most closely associated with the American politics podcast Chapo Trap House. Chapo emerged in 2016. It combines political analysis, punditry from a socialist perspective with elements of comedy and irony in the style of a shock jock. Beyond Chapo, media outlets that have been linked to, described as, or identified with the dirtbag left include podcasts, Street Fight Radio, TrueAnon, Red Scare, Failed Verification, Stavi's World, and Cumtown. The publication is The Baffler and Current Affairs, and internet streamers Hasan Piker and Vosh. Oh, no! Oh, my God! No! No! Up until this moment, I'm like, oh, these are all my friends, except for Red Scare. I don't know how they get there. Oh! No! No! It's over. Oh, Tacoma wept, dude. Tacoma wept on this day, let me tell you. It wept, dude. I'm weeping. West Hollywood is weeping. Tacoma is weeping. Oh, no. The people want dark woke? What? I mean, that's crazy. Oh, God. Now that I briefly clicked on this meme, there's going to be 11 hours of commentary from crying right-wingers who are going to cut away from their normal broadcast of constantly talking about how women ain't shit and how rape is actually fake, to talk about how unimaginable of a slight that I engaged in by clicking on this meme. Oh, brother.
James Comey, our former FBI director, posted on Instagram something that many are interpreting as a call for violence on the president. Look at this. The caption reads, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk."
8647, 1738. Dude, this is awesome. James Comey is a Republican. He has always been a Republican. He just doesn't like Donald Trump. He's a never Trump Republican.
And it says 8647.
So this is what the former director is saying in response to this. It literally makes no sense, but here it is. I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on a beach walk, which I assume were a political message. I didn't realize some folks associated those numbers with violence. It's never occurred to me. But I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down. So what political message did you think it represented?
Just in case you don't know, most people do. In the dictionary, it defines 86 as slang for to throw out, to get rid of. And
dude, this is awesome. Oh my God, this is like almost 500,000 views in 10 hours. Oh, dude, imagine a boomer watching this and just like whipping himself up into a frenzy to have an aneurysm because they're so scared of their beautiful president getting assassinated. Oh, that's so funny. Today has been 8,647 days since September 11, 2001 attacks. How many messages was James Comey sending today? Oh my God, what did he know? Oh my God. Wait, Jack Posobiec, 8646? No. What did he know? Oh my God. I can't believe these guys are being so violent.
And to refuse service to. A lot of restaurants use this. When I was a waitress, they would put 86 green beans on the chalkboard, so you knew we were out of it.
But when it comes to law enforcement, a lot of times 86 means death.
That's right.
Kill him by 86th him, he's dead. So we thought the head of the FBI has to know what 86 can be used. Why would you post that? Number one, who cares what James Comey thinks?
Dude. This is, I love this story. I love this story. This guy, like, they're unironically being like, yeah, no, he meant like assassinate the current president. As a Republican, former head of the FBI under both Barack Obama and also Donald Trump, a person who was perhaps most responsible for Donald Trump winning the election against Hillary Rodham Clinton, that guy is actually now out there being like, we should assassinate the president. This is so stupid. Oh, it's awesome. Oh, that's great, man. That's what's going on. Brian Kilme confused 86 with 187.
He spends his time on the beach. I'm wondering, did he do that rock formation?
Right, I was wondering that too.
Or do you think he just walked on and thought you'd share it? So this caused Don Jr. stumbled on it first and said, are you calling for the assassination of my dad?
Yeah.
So here's the president.
Of my dad? Dude, you're like 50. You're not allowed to say that. Just say the president. Okay? He's everybody's dad at this point. If you're like a 50-year-old man, you can't be like, are you calling for the assassination of my dad? He's the president, man. Am I wrong about this? Am I crazy for taking issue with Don Jr. and this statement here? Not my daddy. Like, oh, gross.
Responding to it.
He knew exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant. And he did it for a reason, and he was hit.
Oh, God. Conservatives love being the victim so much. It's their favorite thing. It's their favorite sport. By the way, this is literally verbatim the same shit where like Tectone crying about his rapist father or whatever and how he can't stream with him anymore because it's my fault that, you know, his dad was such a serial sexual abuser in the American military that they made a new rule around it, you know? It's just like, dude, what do you mean? We see you, we hear you, we know what you're doing every other moment of the day when you're not crying about this. Like, what the mean? Like, Donald Trump saying this is so funny to me because he's like, he literally retweeted a guy who had a visual of like Brandon bound in the back of his pickup truck. Like, that was a big deal. I laughed about that when that happened too. I was like, come on, guys. Like, who gives a shit? But like, what are we doing? Like, you're Donald Trump. You can't do this. Like, you are not allowed. Okay. You are not allowed to cry about this if you're Donald Trump. What the hell? I hate this. I hate this like overt hypocrisy. I hate this incredible hypocrisy. I can't stand it. It makes me so angry. And it's especially frustrating because you know who actually goes, I guess it's actually fair. I got to hand it to these dipshits. You know who only does that? Stupid ass liberals do that. Okay. And leftists too. Only you in this chat and stupid ass liberals do this shit. Republicans, you could be like, what are you talking about? Look at this shit. What is this? He'd be like, yeah, well, he deserved it. He deserved to be murdered. I want to kill Joe Brandon. Blah, blah, blah. In the same breath as talking about how devastating it is that the big, beautiful boy, our big, beautiful president was actually almost assassinated. And that's what Jim Comey is trying to do. They don't care. They're too stupid. The right has endless amounts of freedom. Okay. The right has endless amounts of freedom to just say whatever the and be overtly hypocritical, contradictory in the same breath. I think liberals got to stop this shit. They got to drop this. Don't even ever give a moment to this kind of like, woe is me ass, cry bully bullshit. Okay. Yeah. Donald Trump Jr. got my Paul Pelosi Halloween costume ready. No love lost for Liz Cheney, but the right just forgets this shit. All these Republicans pretending Comey was threatening to kill Trump is pretending to be mad that it was totally fine with Trump saying Liz Cheney should be put in front of 9 barrels shooting at her. Let's see how she feels about it when the guns are trained on her face. No, this is also bullshit. This is not even an appropriate line of hypocrisy baiting because Donald Trump very clearly was calling Liz Cheney a chicken hawk in that situation. Like, you would know because you're the king dog whistle. Mountains out of molehills, a classic reactionary tendency, says you. Bro, you do that when you said Russia wouldn't invade? What? Let's go, Chad. Is Friday debate? What the? What? I'm so confused. How is that even applicable in this circumstance? Anyway, have you seen this?
What's going to happen in the future? I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
I love that it's called crossing the line. Oh, that's hilarious.
I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal call.
Cry babies. Cry babies.
I'm not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now.
I can't give a guarantee of the future, especially when things are going the way they are.
Subtext.
Especially if things are going the way they are, there will be a revolution in this country, I can tell you now.
Okay, dude. Okay, dude. He's doing the Trump thing where he's like, things change. I don't even know if this interview will end. I don't know how this interview will end. Ed Krasenstein got visited by the government. Here are more details about how the Trump administration had the Secret Service show up at my home, simply reporting 8647, followed by an explanation in that thread saying I'm not calling for violence. No, not my goat. Not my goat. Dark woke Ed Krasenstein getting a call up from the feds. Listen, who amongst us hasn't talked to the feds about things that they may or may not have said? I'm just saying, you know, it happens sometimes. It is what it is. New York Post should retract this despicable false smear. It's just not true that he refused to officially condemn the Holocaust. That's not debatable. It is a factual error. Wait, what? Politico made a baseless accusation. New York City mayor candidate Zohran Mamdani refused to officially condemn Holocaust/support Israel.
Sponsor on a resolution. When you run for mayor, you face a lot of baseless accusations, and
The
I try
fuck?
to ignore as many of them as I can.
They saw the polls where he's rising up. He's actually a threat to Cuomo. Here we go.
But this morning, Politico accused me of something that I take very seriously. They released a story falsely claiming that I refused to condemn the Holocaust. Their evidence? My name wasn't listed as a co-sponsor on a resolution I proudly voted for. In this election, we're seeing the real crisis of anti-Semitism and the pain of Jewish New Yorkers being weaponized as a political talking point. Here's the truth. In January, I told my assembly staff not to co-sponsor any resolutions that were emailed to our office. If I'm on a resolution, it's because I was automatically added. I created this blanket policy because I wanted to focus on the substance of legislation. It had nothing to do with the content of the resolution, but I understand this has caused pain and confusion for many, so I want to share my actual record. I have voted every year for the Holocaust Remembrance Day resolution, including this year, to honor the more than 6 million Jewish people murdered by the Nazis. I have repeatedly supported allocating millions of dollars in the state budget for Holocaust survivors. And my campaign has proposed the largest fiscal commitment of any candidate to combat anti-Semitism, an 800% increase in hate crime prevention. As mayor, I will protect Jewish New Yorkers and build a city that every person can be proud to call home. As we get closer to Election Day, you'll unfortunately hear more lies about me, but I'll always be here to tell you.
I can't believe they're hitting the last second exit ramp to be like, wow, co-sponsoring versus voting has always been pedantic. Yeah. It's I can tell this guy went on minoxidil and finasteride because of you. Did he? Is it not slander? Of course it is, dude. What are you talking about? In a UJA Federation JCRC questionnaire, Andrew Cuomo, Adrian Adams, Brad Lander, Scott Stringer, and Zellner Myrie pledged visit to Israel if elected mayor. Zoran Mamdani declined. One need not to travel to Israel to remain steadfast in their support for Jewish New Yorkers. Yeah, yeah. And it's correct. What do you mean? What do you mean? I can't tell if I'm in an echo chamber in New York, but it baffles me that Cuomo's ahead of Zoran. Dude, it's because, and I told Zoran this, and he knows this better than anyone else in our conversation. If you listen, the real constituencies that he needs to penetrate now, he needs to target are the black and brown aunties. And they are always, especially older people, are always going to go with institutional Democrat Party corrupt charlatans. Always. Old New Yorkers are always going to go with, oh, Andrew Cuomo, I've heard a lot about him. Well, I don't know. He seems like a good guy. Name recognition is a major player here. Name recognition definitely is an issue here, okay? For Zoran especially. But overall, the real reason is because the black and brown voter base especially, and there are a lot of older whites as well that go even further beyond and vote for Republicans in general, but older people in general across the board will go with the institutional pick. Cuomo in New York politics is a name that they remember. The problem is, of course, when you tackle the subject matter from the perspective of like old aunties being a little conservative within the framework of the Democrats and oftentimes like leaning on whatever the institutional candidate is, people call you a racist. But those very same people that call you a racist will literally run around screaming obscenities at Latino and black people that vote for Trump. Or even before they vote for Trump, the idea that they might even vote for Trump is enough to call into question their legitimacy of their race. Like, it's crazy.
So hard because people like me and they like what's happening with our country. Our country has become respected again and all this. And he's calling for the assassination of the president.
Obviously, he apologized and said he doesn't.
Well, he
wasn't
apologized
calling
because
for violence. But
look, he's a very bad.
What do you want to see happen? What do you want to see happen?
I don't want to take a position on it because that's going to be up to Pam and all of the great people. But I will say this: I think it's a terrible thing. And when you add his history to that, if he had a clean history, he doesn't. He's a dirty cop. He's a dirty cop. And if he had a clean history, I could understand if there was a leniency. But I'm going to let them make that decision.
Tulsi Gabbard was asked, do you believe that Comey should be in jail? She said, I do. Any other person with a position of influence that has people who take him very seriously with a guy of that stature, his experience, and with propaganda media has built him up to be. She's very concerned. So Secret Service is now dispatched to investigate.
And Don Jr. said,
have you also noticed that you and other left streamers like Mike from PA are treated by haters as if you're politicians running for a campaign? It's always supercharging imaginary, mean-spirited points of contention to bring you down and never get it back when there is no way to actually do that, as you are not running for any election to lose. You're just accessible, sure, but still untouchable to them. Yeah, that's what it is. That's precisely what it is.
Said just James Comey casually calling for my dad to be murdered. This is who the Dem media worships. Demented.
We've already had 2 attempted assassination
Correct.
attempts on the president.
Why
of the
would you
United
encourage
States.
that?
Why would you put that out there? And plain stupid is not going to get you anywhere. I look forward to the investigation.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to
Welcome back to
Comey is hated by Republicans and Democrats both at this point is not true. Dems love him. They think he's a Democrats think Jim Comey is a hero. Bro, they did like primetime specials for him. Have you seen this yet about your detainment? No, but also, why the would I ever take seriously pirate wires?
Abu Dhabi, Mr. President. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.
First of all, congrats on becoming a grandfather for the 11th time.
Most importantly.
Tiffany, baby
right.
Alexander.
They're a really good couple, great couple, I think. And the baby is perfect. I'll let you know about it in 21 years. But the baby.
Pirate wires is like a Peter Thiel operation, you moron. Why would you link that to me? It's like saying, hey, did you see this 4chan thread calling for your execution? No, but I'm sure there's plenty of them out there. You know what I mean? Why the would you link me a Peter Thiel operation? What, because it's called pirate wires and it looks legit? Is that what it is? You're too dumb to actually do a little bit of investigation, to engage in a little bit of media literacy, to recognize whether or not the outlet that you're sending me is actually not a serious one. Anyway, let me restart this video.
Welcome back to Abu Dhabi, Mr. President. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.
First of all, congrats on becoming a grandfather for the 11th time.
Most importantly.
Tiffany, baby
right.
Alexander.
They're a really good couple, great couple, I think. And the baby is perfect. I'll let you know about it in 21 years. But the baby is good, so we're happy about that. I look forward to seeing the baby.
Seeing you with those grandkids. This is a big trip. This is seen, especially in this region, as a major, major success with the interaction between each one of these countries. How do you see it today as you wrap it up?
Well, I always considered it to be a very important region. I know all 3 leaders, as you could see, very well. In all 3 cases, I knew them long before I ran for politics, which is sort of something. It makes it a little bit more special. They're great people. The 3 of them, they're great people. And it's a great region, but it was never treated properly, and it was certainly not treated well by Biden, who didn't know he was alive, frankly, so, you know, you can understand that. But he was not, they didn't treat this group well. And I think they were being, and I guess you know, because you've reported on it, they were being coaxed very strongly by China, because that solves China's fuel problem forever. And it wasn't their preference, but they were on their way. They were going to China, and that was going to be their parent, and that's not happening anymore.
Do you think you've shifted the paradigm on that?
No, I don't think. I know. We are as close. We're closer now to them than ever before. You could see the relationship. You could get a body expert and pay them a lot of money, and they could tell you. No, there's just a relationship that I have with all 3 that's just you know, very extraordinary. I was even saying, you know, I mean, we're like so friendly. Not a normal situation where you're okay with a leader or whatever, but this is a very important region. This is the energy capital of the world. They have, you know, massive amounts of energy and other things. They've invested wisely, and they're looking to do other things. I guess in Saudi Arabia, they said in another couple of years, there'll be more than 50% other businesses represent more than 50% of the take. And it's pretty amazing what all of them have done.
You have a massive amount of business investment coming back to the U.S.
Right.
And they're still adding it up
Which,
in
by
each
the way,
country.
most importantly, that's why I came here. I didn't come here to say, gee, you guys are rich and you have a lot of oil. You know, they have a lot of money, and I want them to spend the money in the United States. And we set records. There's never been a trip like this by any president or anybody ever before. And I'd ask them, how about doubling it up? Okay. Oh, I should have asked for more, because they said, okay. They're good people, and they love our country. And look, they have great danger because of Iran. That's their primary danger. and that makes them vulnerable. But I don't see them as being vulnerable because I think we have the greatest military in the world, and we're adding to it now at levels that nobody's ever seen. We're going to build the Iron Dome. We deserve an Iron Dome. You know, see, we call it two names. So I was going to call it the Iron Dome because that's the name everyone has heard of for years. But to me, it was old-fashioned. So we changed it recently to the Golden Dome.
Dude, I can't wait to remove people from Medicare so that we can pay for a Golden Dome, which of course implies that we already don't have anti-air missile defense capabilities on U.S. soil, which of course would be a ridiculous thing to claim, which you would know if you are the president, I suspect. Like the idea that the United States of America is just completely unprotected from potential missile systems, like potential attacks from who? Mexico? Canada? Who is going to lob small arms and like little bathtub rockets over the borders? Is it going to be Canada? Is Canada going to send RPG rockets? Is that what's going to happen? Because that's what the Iron Dome is. The Israeli defense systems comprise of the Iron Dome, and then there's the Arrow system. There's a bunch of different anti-missile systems, right? Like the Iron Dome one is the one that gets the most play because the Palestinians don't have access to actual missiles. Okay? Yeah, you have the David Sling, you have the Arrow systems, and then you have Iron Dome. But even then, the Iron Dome is there for RPGs and tiny missiles, okay? Nothing that another country has within its arsenal. The United States of America already has defense capabilities against this sort of thing. It's so stupid for him to just say, we need a Golden Dome, like an Iron Dome, but more golden.
Beautiful Golden Dome. And
matches
Ronald
the golden
Reagan,
age.
you know, Ronald Reagan wanted that many years ago, and he was.
If you lived in a border town, you'd feel different. Yeah. I live in Vermont, brother. Let me tell you how terrifying it is, them goddamn Canadians. As a man living in upstate New York, every day is a struggle. I live in El Paso, and you don't know what they're capable of over there. Only thing keeping us and the demons is a iron wall. Why not an Iron Dome on top of that?
Was right, except you didn't have anywhere near the technology.
I want to talk about Israel. I mean, the first trip in the first administration, when you came over to the Middle East, you did do a stop in Israel on the way back. Not doing it this time. Obviously, the Israel-Hamas and what's happening in Gaza is driving a lot. How do you see that? Are you?
I had no clue what the Pirate Wire was. This is why I'm asking if you had seen it. Don't exactly have time in my day to fully investigate the funding behind every single right-wing Twitter account. I'll do better though, sheesh. No, the investigation that you should be conducting is whether or not this is like an actual reliable outlet by simply looking at what the angle of the commentary is. If they are following the notes of a bunch of rabid stalkers online by literally denying the Customs and Border Patrol's own admission of my detention and instead trying to make it seem as though that did not happen, then you have enough brain processing power to go, hey, I don't think this is a reliable outlet, because what it's saying is that, you know, this guy is lying about his detention. That should probably ring some alarm bells in your brain before you go, hey, look at this. Okay. Stop trying to bait. It's all right. God damn. What is happening today, man? Yeah. That Pirate Wire website, the only reason why I know what it is because they claim that like me and Zay, the squirrel account on Twitter, actually run a secret Discord cabal that actually dominates the entirety of Reddit and has made every Redditor into pro-Palestinian Hamas soldiers, okay? That was one of their wonderful articles. Obviously, they're hallucinating, but they have enough financing to make it seem as though they are, you know, they look legitimate on the optics front. But if you listen to the words that are coming out of these articles, you can very quickly understand that just because the optics look a certain way doesn't mean that they're actually a legitimate entity.
Frustrated at all with Prime Minister Netanyahu?
No, look, he's got a tough situation. You have to remember there was an October 7th that everyone forgets. It was one of the most
everyone forgets October 7th, famously.
violent days in the history of the world, not the Middle East, the world. When you look at the tapes, and the tapes are there for everyone to see. So he has that problem. That problem should have never happened. Now, if I were president, that problem wouldn't have happened because Iran had no money. They were stone cold broke, and they weren't giving money to Hamas. In fact, I remember in your show, like a year before that, you were saying there's no money for Hezbollah, Hamas. There's like 28 different groups. The Houthis. But they have 28 groups that we know of, and none of them, they were all breaking up because there was no money. And then Biden came along, he took off all the sanctions on Iran. I mean, I put sanctions that were so strong. Anybody that did business with Iran could not do business with the United States. So everybody took a pass, including China. Biden came in, he just let everyone go by, and they became, you know, they have over $300 billion today.
So how do you get to a solution there?
Oh, we'll get 100%.
You think so?
Well, we're going to have a solution one way or the other. It's either going to be violent or not violent. And I far prefer nonviolent. I know so many Iranians from New York, from Washington, from different places. These are great people. You know, you have to view them as people. And I don't want it to be a violent thing, but they're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
But you said it was close the other day. You said it was close to a deal.
I think it's close. I think,
so does that mean that they're going to
make
enrich at any level, like a civilian level?
No, I think they want to make a deal. You know, you say to yourself, they have massive oil, by the way. They have oil that lasts for 300 years.
Massive oil.
They have a lot of oil. People don't realize they're one of the biggest in the world. And it's very good oil, meaning it's pure.
It's very good oil.
Perfect stuff. They don't have to, you know, spend a fortune on gases and energy in order to melt the rock and everything. They have pure, unadulterated, good oil. And you say, why does somebody that has that kind of oil, other than being politically correct, but when you have unlimited amounts of oil and gas, why are you putting up, you know, why do you need civil nuclear? I just don't see it.
But I mean, are you going to call for it all?
And I think nuclear is fine. I think nuclear is fine for civil if you have a country with no oil. But if you're sitting on one of the largest piles of oil in the world, why are you talking about putting up nuclear?
I love this. Countries that are sitting on a pile of big, beautiful oil are not capable of entertaining a civil nuclear power grid. I mean, we're sitting on a pile of big, beautiful oil. We have some nuclear power in this country. Like, what do you mean? Also, wait a minute. Isn't he trying to give Saudi Arabia nukes? Who's sitting on a pile of big, beautiful oil? And you're not even trying. What the Wait, he's like, they got unlimited oil, and it's the most beautiful, pure, unadulterated oil, and they need nukes. What's civil nuclear? He's trying to say like a nuclear energy program as opposed to a nuclear program that can yield nuclear arms. Okay? That's what he's talking about. And to be fair, I don't really know if a civil nuclear energy program, like an energy grid, a nuclear energy grid can also yield additional research and development at the behest of nuclear arms. I feel like there's a distinction there, and it probably doesn't. But okay, chat's giving me conflicting results on this. Bunch of nuclear scientists in the chat. Okay, so basically they just don't want Iran to. His claim is that Iran is trying to engage in nuclear enrichment for nuclear arms. Which, ironically enough, he's trying to give nuclear enrichment to Saudi Arabia, which is why this argument kind of falls apart from his perspective.
Civil. I call it nuclear civil.
And so Bibi Netanyahu is not convinced that a deal would be good for the region. Is that fair to say?
I think I can say that
Have they ever said it's not for arms? Yes, Iran always says it's not for arms. But that doesn't stop America from also punishing Iran for even doing any kind of testing or any kind of attempts at building a nuclear energy grid. To be fair, I don't give a shit, okay? Mersheimer once famously said if Iran had nukes, the region would be more stable. And in a world where nuclear proliferation is a must for nation building under the Hasanabi doctrine, there's only two ways out of it. Either nobody has nukes or everybody must have nukes if they want to maintain statehood and sovereignty. My point is we must give Hamas a nuke immediately. Yeah. Palestinian sovereignty must come with nuclear armament, nuclear proliferation for Palestine now.
Bibi, he's an angry man, and he should be because of October 7th. And he's been hurt badly by that, but in another way he's been sort of helped because I think he's fought hard and bravely.
And you think the Israel-Hamas, the situation in Gaza is going to come to an end soon?
Gaza's a nasty place. It's been that way for years. I think it should become a free zone. You know, freedom.
They're going to clip this clip and put it on Fox? Why?
I call it a freedom zone. It should become a freedom zone. It doesn't work. Every 10 years they go back. They have Hamas. They have everybody's being killed all over the place. I mean, you ever see? You talk about crime stats. It's a nasty place.
Are these people, these countries that you were just visiting, are they going to have to be a part of the solution?
Well, they would be. They would be. I spoke to all three of them. They would absolutely be. I mean, they're really rich and really, really, really even more than rich. They're good people, and they would help. And so money's not even the problem.
Well, you got to get countries to say yes. Take them.
Look, these are people that want to be in the Middle East. They really want to be in the Middle East. They love the Middle East. I see that. There's a spirit for the Middle East. They didn't have to go to Sweden, Germany, these different countries. They could have been home in the Middle East if somebody had the brains to build beautiful communities. You know, 1.9 million.
Can you imagine if China invaded America, nuked half the land, and we're like, why don't you go to Canada? They speak English too. Go to Canada. Come on. You're at home there. You're at home there. That's your home. No, their home is Palestine. What do you mean? Like, that's so crazy. Come on. They're Christian. They speak English. They're just like you. Go to Mexico. They're Christian too. A lot of people speak English in Mexico. Go to Mexico. It's crazy. Why are Ukrainians fighting back against Russians? They basically speak the same language. They look the same. Yeah, it's just more Russia, I guess. I don't understand. And if they have an issue with it, why don't they go live in Poland? That's also more Russia. They also have similar features, similar cultures. Why don't the Ukrainians just go to Poland? Do you understand how stupid this argument is? Okay, to be fair with Trump, he does, I think that. So at least he's consistent on that front. He literally is like, yeah, Ukrainians, Belarus, Russia, it's all greater Russia. I don't get it. Some say Kiev, others say Kyiv. I don't understand. Phonetics is not my strong suit. That live in motherfuckers that live in Texas don't even want to believe in living in a more urban part of Texas, okay? That live in rural parts of Texas think living in Austin is like a death sentence because there's, mass rapes and crime being committed in big cities every goddamn day and nowhere to park their lifted pickup trucks. Meanwhile, you're like, oh yeah, Palestinians, come on, uproot yourselves and go to the open air slave market having war-torn Libya that's in the midst of a civil war. 1 million of you. Let's just send your ass over there. It's ethnic cleansing. It's fine. Just a little bit of ethnic cleansing. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It is a lot of people, but it's not a lot of people, relatively.
You had a couple of foreign policy successes even right before this trip. You picked up the phone and called 2 nuclear powers, India and Pakistan, and you got them to step back from the brink. That was a success as you got on the plane heading over here.
A bigger success than I'll ever be given credit for. Those are major nuclear powers. Those are not like a little bit. And they were angry. And the next phase was probably, did you see where it was getting, it was tit for tat. And it was getting deeper and more, more missiles. Everyone was stronger. to a point where the next one's going to be, you know what, the N-word. You know what the N-word is, right?
Nuclear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
I figured you'd...
Oh my God, what a clown show. What a clown show.
You want to clean that up? No, it's the N-word. That's a very nasty word, right? In a lot of ways. The N-word used in a nuclear sense, that's the worst thing that can happen. And I think they were very close. The hatred was great. And I said, we're going to talk about trade. We're going to do a lot of trade. Don't forget, Iran wants to make a deal with us badly for a lot of reasons. But when you look at India, they are calling, Iran wants to trade with us, okay, if you can believe that. And I'm okay with that. I'm using trade to settle scores and to make peace. But I've told Iran, we make a deal, you're going to be very happy. But more than anything, I've told Iran very simply, because I heard somebody making my case last night on television. I didn't like it, because they were saying, there's plenty of time. There's not plenty of time. There's not plenty of time.
You feel urgency.
Well, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and eventually they'll have a nuclear weapon, and then the discussion becomes a much different one. But in the case of India, India wants, they're one of the highest taxed or tariff nations in the world. They make it almost impossible to do business. Do you know that they're willing to cut 100% of their tariffs for the United States because of what I did? Is that deal coming soon? Yeah, that'll come soon. I'm in no rush. Look, everybody wants to make a deal with us.
So South Korea.
South Korea wants to make a deal with
India,
us, everybody. But
Japan.
I'm not going to make deals with everybody. I'm just going to set the limit. I'll make some deals, and then I'm just going to, because you can't meet with that many people. I've got 150 countries that want to make deals. You have a lot of countries.
The market was really happy with the China situation and the sit down.
They were.
With the Treasury Secretary.
If I didn't do that deal with China, I think China would have broken apart.
Not us, them.
We weren't going to break. We're not going to break. They would have broken apart. Our country has a lot of spirit. And you know why? Because of November 5th. Because our country has spirit again.
The other foreign policy shift was this embrace of Syria. You met with the Syrian president.
Do you think he sucked him off after the interview was over? Brother, he's sucking him off during the interview. Trump has just whipped it out, and he's sucking the whole time.
Who has a, shady past of being tied to Al-Qaeda and the Al-Nusra Front.
Okay, he wasn't being tied to Al-Qaeda. He was Al-Qaeda. Okay? It's like talking about Osama bin Laden. I mean, like, yo, he had a bit of a shady past being tied to Al-Qaeda. Like, no, he wasn't. That's not. I guess that's one way to describe it. What the fuck?
Front in Syria. But you see promise there.
Well, before I talk about that, just one word.
Yeah.
Also Pakistan. Great conversations with Pakistan. We can't forget them. And because it does take two to tango. And with India, I felt very certain. And with Pakistan, I also talked about trade. Oh, they would love to trade. They would love to trade. They're brilliant people. They make incredible products. And we don't do much trading with them. And yet I have a good relationship with a lot of people that you wouldn't believe. But I stopped that war. That was going to be a nuclear war, I think, or close, very close. You were right there.
Yeah.
And now everyone's happy. In fact, I told my people, call them up. Let's start trading immediately, because I'm a man of my word. Now, when you get to Syria, so I did something with Syria because the future king, and you have a wonderful king right now. He's an older man. He's also a friend of mine, and he's 100% sharp. He's great, and he's got a great son, the Crown Prince, and he has actually many titles. He's Prime Minister, he's Crown Prince, and he's doing a great job running it. But he called me, and he spoke to me, and he said, could you do me a favor? Could you, and do the world a favor, could you take the sanctions off Syria? Because the only way they're going to have a chance, the sanctions are crippling, really biting. Well, that's what I did with Iran, and they came to a point where they were bust. Could you take the sanctions off? I hadn't thought about it much, and he said it in a way that was, he's got a great heart. He said, they can't make it with those sanctions. I said, let's give them a chance. I met the leader. I met the new leader, and handsome guy, by the way, young, handsome. And I said, you know, you have quite a past, got a tough past. But when you think about it, are you going to put a choir boy in that position? I don't think so. You know, it's going to be a little bit tough. It's a tough part of the world.
So you're willing to give him a shot?
You know the word they say, it's a nasty neighborhood. It's a rough neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I thought he was really, I thought he was terrific. He was so thankful about the sanctions because he knew he's not going to be able to bust through.
So maybe it'll be a turn there. We'll see.
I think he has a real chance. He's a strong guy. He's done some pretty tough things.
A lot of the coverage here was about your speech in Saudi Arabia and some of those things that you said about trusting these countries to make their own decisions, and we're not trying to make it a mirror image of ourselves. You know, big foreign policy thoughts.
We have our own problems.
Yeah.
You know?
But a lot of the coverage back home was about this donation of the Qatar Boeing jet. And I've heard you talk about it.
You know, until you bring this up now, I haven't heard about it for 3 days.
I know, but I mean, I'm just telling you
we
back
can talk
home.
about it again. You ready?
Briefly. I heard all the answers.
Well, no, but your audience has to hear the answers. Yeah.
They're giving it to the Defense Department.
To be very simple.
Yeah.
They're giving it to the United States Air Force / Defense Department of the United States. They're not giving it to me. I made a good deal. We need a plane for a couple of years.
What? Israel isn't a terrorist? What do you mean? Does he agree with anything? Can you just start saying the same shit Kanye is saying at this point? Your chat rides your meat so hard, it's crazy. I'd go up to Hasan and say the N-word. Israel defenders, dude. Every time. I didn't even know this person existed. He was just chirping into the wind, and he didn't get the attention that he wanted. So instantly, he's like, no one asked him. He came in, said Israel's not a terrorist. It definitely is. And then he couldn't get what he wanted out of this. And it was like, yeah, I'm just going to come up to you and say the N-word. Like, why are you volunteering this information, dumbass? What the? So many of these people, man.
Before we get the other ones, because Boeing is very late. Boeing is sadly.
Did you talk to the CEO while you were?
I did. I said, let's get, you know, in the meantime, I got him 160 planes to build. I said, how about the
Qatar?
2 that you're supposed to build for our country? Now, they are different. They're extremely complex, and I'm not going to go into it, but they're not like a normal plane. You know, it's not like building a 747 normal.
I mean, we could put people on the moon before
but let me tell you,
the Boeing Air Force One is
People
done.
knew I was angry at Boeing. A lot of people know. These people know. They're very smart down here. And they suggested if we can do anything at all to help. Because we have 40-year-old planes right now. You know, our Air Force One is actually 2 planes. It's 247, 747.
This plane shit is so funny because, like, I don't think he's allowed to fly in the Qatar plane for at least until the end of his term, if he even stops being president at any point. Because, like, they have to retool it. Like, I don't get it. Is he just going to fly around in a Boeing plane that he got from Qatar without, like, proper security checks and retrofitting it to make sure that it's up to standard for Air Force One capabilities? He's not going to be able to fly it. I'm not even talking about sweeping it for bugs, chat. Do you guys understand how complicated Air Force One is? My brother checked me on this, by the way, because I said it has refueling capabilities so we can withstand a nuclear holocaust. The new ones don't, I don't think. But like overall, it's supposed to be, it has like incredibly, it has like all of this stuff is public knowledge, by the way. It's not like a secret. Air Force One capabilities are crazy. Was this one of those anti-aircraft missiles smuggled over the border last summer are going to get Trump? Also, the plane is so marginal in comparison to all the deals that he set up for his entire family. It blows my mind that we're even talking about the plane this much. The only reason why we're talking about the plane is because it's Israel. Israel hates that Qatar gave the plane, and Qatar is like neutral. I want to watch this.